Pocket, breath like a match, velvet in my voice and skill in my grasp. I follow the moonlight into a steady hand, walk through the flame until both understand. When I ask who I am, I answer with light. Ignite your weekends, set our shadows on fire. Ignite your weekends, that tenderness meet desire. Ignite your weekends, choose how we rise higher. Ignite your weekends, oh yeah, ignite your weekends.
I used to push louder, call that being strong. Now strength is patient and patience moves along. I hold the rage and the lullaby in one key. In hard times I show up steady awake. The hours of posture I practice and refine.
Hands like thunder, hands like rain, both have place. I flip fear into fuel, turn silence into blaze. Ignition is a choice, not a single bright spark. I carry my past and shine through the dark. Ignite your weekends, set our shadows on fire. Ignite your weekends, let tenderness meet desire. Ignite your weekends, choose how we rise higher. Ignite your weekends, we are the flame, we light the night, we light the night. Ignite your weekends.
Welcome to the Third Entity podcast with me and Bruce. Here we
All
are.
right. Here we are. Yes. Fresh off my won the league soccer game last Thursday night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You won the whole
playoff
thing?
Won the whole thing. First place, we win. Everyone else loses. We win.
Nobody flopping around on the ground crying all game. They don't do that in Canada, right? That's what I heard. That's what you told me.
Well, that's true. Yes. Yeah. You have a lot of men complaining, hey, he kicked me, ref. And then we yell things like, we'll call your mother after the game. Get on with it. Yeah. And I got my official timer here.
Yep. Start her up. So today we are talking about the benevolent patriarchy. And I put mystical matriarchy in the title, but as you pointed out, I think I was supposed to put mythical matriarchy.
Mythical, meaning that what? That it's doesn't exist, or
No, well, it's two things.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you know of a current matriarchal society, or have you ever heard of one?
Yeah, the Amazon women, remember? The mythical country, the Amazon.
Where Wonder
Amazon.
Woman's from?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's
Right?
that's why it's mythical, yes.
A whole island of really fierce women warriors.
The Amazonians, yeah.
Yeah.
But also because they're kind of women are kind of magical and kind of mysterious.
Well, they have a power, and it's really hard to pin down, but it's there. When women are in their feminine power, they light up a room.
Yeah.
And there's things they can do when they're working together that are just amazing. Oh yeah, I've seen it.
they can have an effect on men, like they almost like mind control.
Yeah. It's funny. I was thinking about that the other day. When the women want something, we talk about it in the men's weekend. When the women exhibit that something I want from you behavior, and we all know what that looks like. They're smiling at you and they're touching you when they talk, and they find you extremely humorous, and and even though we tell men that this is a sort of a contrived behavior because they want something from you, it doesn't matter. Because you still appreciate it, you still want it, and it still makes you feel really good, and it makes you want to perform or give them what they want, which I find is interesting.
Yep.
Maybe it's like maybe it's akin to, because we tell the women, don't have a relationship with a man, have a relationship with his ego, and we remind them that you can do it because you did it when you met him, because you never would have gotten to the point you're at in your long term if you hadn't catered to his ego in the beginning. And men and women, even though men, and again, men know that women are doing that, but they still appreciate it. Like if they're aware, they still know they're being catered to, but they're helpless. They still enjoy it.
Okay, so you're saying that for a long-term committed relationship to work, what she needs to do is to cater to his ego. Well, what I immediately am thinking that most women would say is, well, why shouldn't he cater to her ego? Shouldn't it be equal? Shouldn't they both get the same treatment?
Well, I mean, first of all, two egos in a relationship just lock in a mortal embrace, and it'll never work. Because for a woman, well, a man too, but for a woman, she uses her ego for competition, or it kills relationship. Those are the two uses it has, for competition. And if you're in your marriage, shouldn't be in competition. So what other use does it have in your marriage? For a man, he can never truly let go of his ego because it's what kept him alive for tens of thousands of years, out there fighting the fight, taking on responsibilities and one battle after the other and losing a lot of them and winning a few and all of that. His ego needs to remain intact. So for a woman to cater to it, like for 15 minutes a day, we're not talking about walking around. And what does that look like? It might be, I come home from my soccer game and how did you do? We won 3 points. Oh, really? So, she'll ask some probing questions about the game, and, and I'll just get going. And I know she doesn't give a shit about my soccer game, but still it feels good to be, recognized for that, right?
Mhm.
That's what I'm talking about, catering. It's not a big deal. It's not being subservient in any way, shape, or form. It's knowing your man's ego, knowing what he would like to hear from you, and just giving it to him, for a few minutes, right? And when a man sees that, then he immediately identifies you as an asset, right? And he will do anything for you. So there's a huge payoff for the woman as well, right? Which again, at the beginning of the relationship when they first met, she catered to his ego. I just go back to my own wife. It's like, yeah, I gotta leave. I'm gonna play soccer. And she's like, oh, really? Can I come? You want to come to my soccer game? Oh yeah, and then we're married. Yeah, we got to leave in 10 minutes. Why? Well, because we're going to the soccer game. Why would I go to your soccer game? It just changes, right? So anyway, I don't know if any of that makes sense, but
Hey, no, I did for sure. I mean, it's the kind of the topic of today. It sounds very patriarchal, by the way, what you're saying. So that he's allowed to have an ego, but she's not, right?
well, it's not about allowed, because we tell the men in the men's weekend, keep your ego. Well, see, for a man, his ego has to be under control at all times.
Mm-hmm.
At all times. So even when it leaks out here and there, it's under control. It's not going to go run away like a wildfire. Most of the time when women's egos surface, they don't really control them. Their emotion fuels it and it kind of spills out into everything. That's why you're having an argument. If you engage with your wife and you're having this argument about one thing, the next thing you know, you're talking about things that happened 3 years ago. Like, well, what? And the man is just confused. Like, what the hell's going on?
Mm-hmm. It's not fair.
Because it's like a flamethrower. Yeah, it's like a flamethrower.
So that's a great segue. Something I want to talk about. By the way, I have another. Before I get into that, I have another word for you. I have another. What do I want to call it?
Gen Z slang.
Yeah, Gen Z slang. We're gonna keep it a buck today, Bruce. We're gonna keep it a buck.
what does that mean? Like keep it to an hour? What does that mean? Keep it tight? What does that mean?
No. A buck is 100, right? A dollar.
Okay.
A dollar is
A
100.
buck.
Yeah. So
Dollar's
it's like
100.
it's like saying we're going to keep it 100%, which is also slang that means we're going to keep it honest.
Oh,
Like when someone
truthful.
says,
Yes.
yeah, truthful. So keeping it a buck means being truthful.
Okay.
But I was thinking about that. I think it should be keeping it a Benji. The buck is too cheap, you know?
Yeah, in this day and age, yeah.
Yeah, it should be a Benji.
Keeping
Keep it
keeping
Benji
it a Benji. Oh, you
or
could
something
probably
like
invent
that.
a new slang.
Yeah. Yeah, you heard it first on the Third Entity podcast.
There
Keeping
you
it
go.
Benji.
Yeah.
So, arguing with a woman. This is something that I want to talk about real quick. Do you know who Andrew Wilson is?
Yeah, I think so. Doesn't he do those podcasts with a bunch of women in the room? And
Well, that's how he got famous. I've been following him for years. Not following him, but I mean, I've been watching him for years. He got famous on the Whatever podcast, which is like you're saying, it's a panel of women. He usually gets like I don't know, like 10 young women around a table. Brian Atlas is his name. He does the Whatever podcast. And what he'll do is he'll just ask them a series of questions. It's a dating podcast, so the idea is to get an idea of like what young women are looking for, how they're thinking, what it's like in the dating world, all that kind of stuff, right? But it's like 8 hours or 10 hours. He just like
yeah.
it's a marathon, you know. Like you'd smoke like 5 cigars if you were there. But it's interesting though, because what it does is it reveals a lot of like the thinking that's out there in today's dating world, how young women are thinking and kind of where we're at. And so Andrew Wilson would be brought on as like a guest, like he would be on like Zoom, like in the corner, like talking and like debating with these women about like feminism and stuff. And he was just brutally honest and really good at like debating, you know, and if somebody decided to get personal and like do it a personal attack at him, then that gave him leeway to personally attack them back, and he was really good at it. So he didn't ever go on to be mean, like, but if it came at him, he gave it back. So he rose to fame like instantly. I don't know what happened, but I'm a little jealous, I have to say, because I had a nickname growing up as a kid. My friends affectionately called me Dickhead. That was my nickname because I would always take the other side of any argument, of any issue. It didn't matter what it was. I would just take the devil's advocate position. I would always, because I was bored with conversation and I wanted to learn more. This was before we had internet, right? So
Yeah.
you couldn't just go on and like research stuff or talk to people or whatever. So all of my learning was from other people, right? Mostly. So I would just take this other position just to see, you know, what they really knew and thought and explore it. And they would always get mad at me, you know, because I was pretty good at.
I mean, you still do that today. You still do that today. Like
What?
when we're researching. Yeah, when we're researching
talking
women's
about?
stuff, you take you take the opposite position, but it's good. I mean, we don't get in arguments, but I do appreciate that because it's it makes me defend my position, and it puts me on more solid footing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I embrace the nickname as a good thing. And you know, it's
Well,
kind of
let's hope it doesn't resurface and stick again. Let's hope.
No, I shouldn't have mentioned it. Right? Yeah. But okay, so have you ever heard like if you want to know how to pronounce a word, if you're not sure how a word is pronounced, say it very loudly in a crowded room, right? That's kind of the thinking, is that you're going to get to the truth. You're going to understand things better if you're willing to talk about them. Right. So I was just really good at this, and you know, there would be family gatherings, there would be, you know, hanging out with friends, there would be all these different things, and I would just, you know, bring up topics that were controversial and talk about politics or whatever it was and defend positions. and people didn't like it. Some people did, but a lot of people didn't. They would tell me, like, you got to knock it off. But my wife, especially,
You got to knock it off.
She would tell me not to do that. So this
What do we say
guy,
to men? Never apologize for being socially unacceptable.
right? And I shouldn't have. This guy, Andrew Wilson, he's just doing what I did my whole life on the internet, and he's now like considered to be one of the best debaters in the world. He's revered. He's super rich now from, you know, his fame on YouTube and TikTok or whatever else he gets money from.
Sure.
I've never made any money from social media. I have no idea how that works, but the more views you get, the more money you get, apparently. And so he's like super rich. And I watched him go from a nobody to being very, very famous. So this weekend, there was a debate between him and Candace Owens. Do you know who Candace Owens is, right?
Yeah. Well, I think I saw that debate. There was that other guy just sitting in the corner saying nothing, right?
That was Patrick P. What is his name?
Yeah.
Patrick something. He has his own podcast. He's pretty famous too. The reason why he was moderating that debate is because he brought a lot of eyeballs to the debate because his podcast has a lot of people. Plus, they both considered him to be fair, right? Did you watch the whole thing?
I did.
It was long. Okay. So you know what I'm talking about. So that was Andrew Wilson, and he is considered to be one of the best debaters in the world. She
talks fast. I can say that.
He got destroyed.
Yeah.
Because he was arguing with a woman. That's basically what it was.
You're never going to win, right? The other thing was like he's got his leg, like it's body language, right? And because I kept noticing it, like his leg is going a fucking mile a minute, like his foot, like. Then I'm looking over at her, and she's just going at it, like she's articulating, she's mixing emotions in with her logic, and she's not even twitching. Her legs are dead still. She's just calm as fuck. And I'm looking at him. He looks like a cat on a hot tin roof, and she just looks like smooth as butter.
Yeah. Well, she got to pick how it was set up, how it looked, and I've never seen him in a setting like that before. He's always at a table. It's always different, but she got to decide, how it was going to be.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that was my whole point. Is that, I mean, it was supposed to be about like the facts of the case. They were talking about Charlie Kirk getting shot and in the trial, Tyler Robinson. And she's got all these crazy fucking conspiracy theories that she is pushing on her podcast. And basically the idea was to pin her down to why would anybody believe these crazy things that you're saying? And then she just came on and said, well, it's my opinion. So that's how she started it. So there was, after that, what are you going to do? Like you can't argue against someone's opinion. So he got destroyed. So, but I brought up Andrew Wilson because he talks a lot about the benevolent patriarchy. That's where I heard this term from. It was from him. I'm sure it's been said by other people, but the idea being that if you want to dismantle the patriarchy, and we're going to get into like what that is and what a matriarchy is and how it affects I
hope we have Brenda's help for this.
Yeah, no, she's backstage. I'm going to bring her out in a second. She's waiting patiently. So the idea is that he brings up is that if a feminist woman wants to dismantle the patriarchy, she has to appeal to the patriarchy to dismantle. It would be like living in China under communism and appealing to the communist government to dismantle communism.
Right. So, because only the men can dismantle the patriarchy. That's what you're saying.
That's right.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. So the men decided that women can vote. Right. That was what happened. And so the men could collectively again decide to take it away. Right. Which brings up, I do have a message from the patriarchy It's coming through right now.
A message from the Benevolent Patriarchy.
They send me messages every once in a while. Here's one of them.
The 19th Amendment will remain in effect for another year.
They get one more year, at least, of voting. We'll see. See how it goes. So yeah, the patriarchy is benevolent. It allows the voting. You know, it's allowing so many things right now, and the patriarchy actually has become what I would call gynocentric. The gynocentric patriarchy. I think it was actually, that was a term coined by Rollo Tomassi.
Is he dead?
No. Did some woman kill him? No, he's alive and well. He wrote the book
Gynocentric.
The Rational Male. Gynocentric. That means so instead of
like a feminized version of patriarchy.
Yes. A patriarchy,
colored to the feminine side or something.
Yeah, that caters to women. So basically, giving women more control, but without the same responsibility or duties that men have. For example, voting. Right. So in order for me to be able to vote here in America, I had to sign up for selective service when I was 18. Among many things that would have happened to me if I didn't sign up for selective service, one of them would be I wouldn't be able to vote.
Wow.
So part of my right to vote is that I have a duty to go and fight and die for this country if they ask me to. So that's a responsibility that's, that has a duty with it. And so what's happened is now women have the right to vote. And this is one of the reasons why the women who didn't want the right to vote during the women's suffrage movement, that were the women that were against the suffragettes, that was their main reason for being against it, because they didn't want to go to war. And they were assuming that would be a part of it. If they got the right to vote, they would have to go to war, which makes sense because a lot of women are single issue voters, in my opinion. And we can get into this too, about how their empathy is taken advantage of by politicians. But abortion is like, for some women, that's just their main thing that they vote on. Like, who's pro-abortion, who's not pro-abortion? I'm voting for the pro-abortion. And so if that president or politician is pro-war and is going to get us into a war that could get young men killed that are going to be drafted, they're voting on a single issue, but they have no responsibility or ramifications if we actually have a draft and go to war.
Yeah. Would we ever want to send women to war?
No, of course not.
Yeah, but I'm just,
And by the way, since we're talking about voting, men did not always have the right to vote in America. Did you know that?
Well, who voted then? I mean, I did hear that, but who voted?
Just a certain number of men.
Right, like politicians or people in a certain standing.
You had to have stake in the game. You had to be a landowner, or you had to, there had to be a reason why you were a voter. And it was only like 20 years before women got the right to vote that all men got the right to vote. And I don't know if either of those are a good thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyways, I think I've said enough things to warrant.
Piss everyone off.
Yeah, piss everyone off. So this will be the perfect time to bring Brenda on, see what she has to say, or if she's ready. I don't know. Maybe she's not ready. I'll give her a minute. To get ready. So I have a video to play. Oh, here's Brenda. Hey, Brenda.
Oh, this always shows me from the chin up.
How we doing?
Fabulous. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Oh, since you're here now, I did just get a message from the mythical matriarchy. Hold on a sec.
A message from the mythical matriarchy.
Sometimes they send me messages too.
We will allow men to glance at our cleavage, but no staring. 1 second is okay, but any more is creepy.
Hey, solid message.
Yeah. It's funny. I used to go to the gym. The gym I used to go to had an on-site massage therapist, and she wore lots of cleavage. And I remember sitting there in front of her making an appointment thinking, I can't stop staring at the cleavage. How do you expect men to? I mean, it's right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
If you're going to show it off, you got to expect people to look at it.
But you only get 1 second. You don't want to be creepy.
They got
I was
an app.
probably creepy because it was very distracting.
They got an app now, that just goes off every time you lock onto a cleavage. You just ding, and I gotta look away.
It tracks
I've
your
got a
eyeballs.
comment for that, but it's probably not for family audiences.
So we were talking earlier about catering, that a woman should cater to a man's ego. And then I think you made this comment. A man takes orders from his ego. What do you mean by that?
So a man's ego is a driving force, and is like my understanding, and you guys would know better than I would, but my understanding is that a man's ego is a driving force in his life. And therefore, if a woman can have influence over a man only by making friends with his ego. And when she makes friends with his ego, he's taking orders. It's like the ego is the boss. She's making friends with the ego. He's listening to the ego. Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know about taking orders from the ego, but definitely, if she befriends a man's ego, he will see her as an asset. An asset. He will see his woman as an asset, like somebody in his camp, and he'll do anything for her. And that's why it's beneficial for the women to do it. And they don't even have to like doing it. They don't even have to mean it, because it doesn't even matter if a man knows she doesn't mean it. It's so hilarious.
Well, and it makes sense. We want to work with our allies, and we want to work, and we don't necessarily want to work with those who are foes. So making friends with a man's ego creates a partnership between the man and the woman. And it's the same. I mean, as a woman, I want to work with people that want to work with me. I don't want to work with somebody who wants to battle me and challenge me all the time. A little challenge from time to time, productive challenge for growth purposes is one thing, but challenges to make me wrong for the sake of being right, that's not somebody I'm going to spend a lot of time with.
That's fair. That's kind of a common sense thing, right? Either
Right.
way. Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Yeah. It's human. So much, we talk so much about the masculine and the feminine, but so much of what we talk about is simply human.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree. So we're talking about what is patriarchy, what is matriarchy, that kind of thing today. What do you think? What when you hear patriarchy, what comes to mind for you?
Well, as you were talking, I Googled it a little bit. What is patriarchy? You're talking about there aren't any societies run that are true matriarchies. And there are 6 according to Google. And they're all communities in like Kenya, India, countries that I'm not familiar with. I don't know how many people are, but they're definitely, I thought Sweden was one of those, and it's clearly not. Didn't make the list.
Do you mean when you say so you mean are they like towns or just like
they're communities? I don't know if they're towns or like village. Sounds like it. Yeah. I closed it so I can't look at it. Oh wait.
So do they have like all the politicians are female, or what makes it? How do they
all
define
run by
it?
women. Yeah.
Wow.
Is it a city, or is it do they have a government structure, or is this just like a community that they all live in?
I don't remember what I Googled, but it's not coming right
I've
up.
researched it before, and what came up for me whenever Google said there was a matriarchy, what they were talking about was like land ownership was passed down to the women, like that's how land was passed on. But it was
Well, the definition is a social system where women hold primary power, moral authority, and control over property. So it's all of the above.
Mm.
Masuo, China, something I can't pronounce in India. I mean, in Indonesia. Kasi, India, R3. Ancestral property. Inheritance passes down through the matriarchy, through the female line.
but wouldn't
I'd
it
be
be
curious about what the culture is like.
wouldn't it though be impossible for women to hold power
Why would that be?
because men can just take it? Men would have
Well,
to allow them to have power.
well, you haven't been watching Wonder Woman, have you?
That's what I brought up.
That's the mythical part of the matriarchy.
Yeah, you know that you have a point. You have a
There's never
point,
been
but
a
it
time-
depends on how it's culturally set up. I mean, is it culturally set up to where men have enough power to gather? I mean, we're all conditioned by our culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So would they gather?
Wait, what would
Men gather to overthrow the matriarchy? Because one man's not going to overthrow a community.
They may or may not, but they could.
Yeah.
They always could.
They could
Men are
always just
stronger. Yeah.
they could always just ignore it as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is why the patriarchy is benevolent. Because anything, I mean, if men wanted to, if men got together and just said, you know what, we're done with this women's rights thing. They're all just going to be owned by us and traded and no rights. Put them in burqas. If we wanted
That's
to,
happening, isn't it? That's happening.
men could do that, but we don't. So we're benevolent.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna play some videos just to kind of like spark conversation. This one is this would be a version of like a feminist version of what the patriarchy is, right? This is what like I think most feminists believe is the patriarchy.
So patriarchy is like a man having his boot on a woman's neck. Feminism is women asking that the boot be removed. Men's rights activists think that having to take their boot off a woman's neck is some sort of reverse oppression. Conservatives figure that there was never a problem with the boot being on the neck until the woman started complaining about it, and if everybody would just shut the fuck up, things would be fine. Good guys take any complaint about the boot as a personal attack because not all men wear boots. Male allies try to discuss the issue in a way without alienating the boot. Women with internalized misogyny don't know why these other women are complaining about the boot on their neck. They love having the boot on their neck, and there's something wrong with the women who complain. Meanwhile, the boot stays on the fucking neck. So, patriarchy.
By the way, you got that? Did that have audio?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you got to tell me if it doesn't. Sometimes I do that.
That's why I went like that. To tell you that the audio was good.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
And whatever button you were supposed to push to get it to activate right away, you've done it. So thank you.
Yes.
Nice move, patriarch.
Okay, so what do we think about that? Is that true?
You're so benevolent. I don't. I struggle with this boot on the neck. I don't quite understand what that even means. Boot on the neck. I mean, if you got somebody boot on your neck, you're in trouble, right? You're under their control, right? You could be a step away from death. You know, you're in a very vulnerable position. So I certainly don't see patriarchy as we have our colloquial boots on women's necks. It doesn't compute.
Brenda, what do you think? Is that what patriarchy is?
For me, well, for what occurs for me and things like that is they're very triggering. It's so black and white. There's no gray area.
Mm-hmm.
And the men are so protective. I mean, you can imagine someone having a boot on your daughter's neck. That man's not going to have a leg to stand on soon.
I guess part of it could describe me as an internal misogynist, which doesn't seem to fit very well. Ask anybody who knows me. But it's not that I don't understand why other people resist the status quo or the patriarchy or whatever's going on in politics these days. I mean, granted, I'm not a young woman anymore, and I definitely am a little bit out of the loop. It appears recently since I've been listening to these podcasts and stuff, but I think that there's a lot more benevolence than videos like that.
What do you mean by that you're out of the loop? I'm interested in that.
Well, it's just so interesting when I see young girls like that. They've got this very narrow view of what's happening in society, and I've got my happy little bubble. I think life is grand. You know, I've created a world for myself where life is great, and which I guess is part of maybe something to look at. You know, I've created a world where my life is great, everything works, and everybody has, you know, the majority of people have good intention, and that's what I operate with, and that's where I come from. And other people come from a world where everything's a problem. Something's wrong here. Everything's a problem. Instead of working with what is and bringing out the best in everyone, let's just fight about it.
Yeah, I think that's part of the problem with social media, right? Is that like people only they get on there to voice their problems, right? And so they amplify the bad things that are happening in the world. It's not reality, right? It's like if you go in the real world and you hang out with people and talk to people, it's a totally different experience than when you like scroll through like 10-second or minute long clips of people just like ranting on the internet. Very different.
Well, I think what it is out in the world, it's a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you say something and I have an input on it, and then I say something and we go back and forth, and then we begin to understand each other, relate to each other, maybe come to a common understanding or agree to disagree. And on the internet and all of these virtual platforms, it's a one-way conversation. I'm talking at you, not to you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you disagree with me, I'm going to call you a troll and block you or delete your comment or
personally attack you some way. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's why TikTok is so bad, because it's all short. It's mostly like short little videos of people complaining. Like this podcast and other podcasts like this podcast that are like long format where we're actually having a conversation.
Right.
I think are way better. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and this is a conversation. You know, you're asking me my opinion. I'm asking you your opinion. We're discussing it. We're respecting each other. We're not combative.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and this is a conversation. It's the back and forth, the conversation, the relationship, right? It all comes down to relationship all the time. Any interaction between two people is a relationship of some sort.
Agreed. Oh yeah, I got one more here too. This is, I believe, this is like when you like went and Googled like are there matriarchies? I think this is what she's talking about right here. So I think she's gonna lay some facts out for us here. We'll see if I get it going, if I did it right.
After I gave you kudos.
Oh, we have sound.
Well, it's not running yet.
Oh, it's not even a video. It didn't even.
No.
Oh, such a fail. She goes on and she talks about these matriarchal societies that exist and how they're structured and everything. but it's what she says is like there's no
One gender in charge or something.
authority. Yeah, there's no so they all get together as like a council. They all get together in their tribe and they all make decisions together. There's like not one person at the top. And it's like, how would you possibly get anything done? I mean,
Yeah. Well, and isn't a patriarchy or a matriarchy, very gender biased? A patriarchy is mostly are all men, and the matriarchy is mostly are all women.
Well, no,
And
interesting. Here's
somebody has
something
to be at the
interesting.
top making the final decision, but the people having input.
See, in a patriarchy, when you have a group of men together that are trying to determine a direction or course of some community or party or whatever it is they're trying to lead, it's interesting because naturally a hierarchy forms. They can discuss everything and everyone can have different ideas, but we used to say that the largest context in the room wins the day. But with men, it's the male hierarchy. Men quickly come to determine who their leader is, and so no matter what they do and what they will always find in the end defer to that man. And he's not the strongest or the biggest or the loudest or boastful or whatever. No,
He's most aligned.
And the men trust because he's truthful, his intentions are pure, and the men see it. They just see it. I always say, when you're in a circle of men, the truth is always present because a man cannot lie in a circle of men because men sniff it out like nothing quickly. And I'm not even sure what the way it is with women, like a group of women trying to do that same thing. Like, they're given a mandate, they got to figure out a direction or a way to go. And no one person is put in charge. So they're just kind of in there together in a room, just like we talked about the men. The men will work it out. Will the women? Let me ask you that question, Brennan. What would happen in that situation?
I think the women just naturally defer to the most aligned woman in the room, the wisest, the sage,
So you're saying it's similar? It's similar.
I think so, yeah. How they get there may be a little bit different. I'm not sure, but I know I'm thinking of the circles of women that I've been involved in, and from corporate world down to just personalities and personal groups. But it seems to me that there is a woman who everyone trusts and believes and is willing to follow because she's got everybody's female model of leadership. That's something we work with in our group, is the female model of leadership. And it's very relationship oriented, being concerned for the well-being of the group. It's, the woman at the top is a true leader, creating leaders in her group rather than being the dictator, if you will. When you're in a group of women, you've got the woman at the top is the one that is loving and gathering and taking care of everyone in a way that they take care of themselves and each other.
So would you say she's the most empathetic?
I would say empathetic, but aligned, somebody who knows who she is and is willing to stand in what she knows to be true and take feedback from the group. The lead heartbeat in the dish, in the petri dish.
Fully self-acceptance. Fully self-acceptance.
Yes. Yeah. She knows who she is and she knows who she's not, and she's okay with that. She embraces that. Yeah, full self-acceptance. That's
I made this video about the eagle and the crow, and the crow is apparently it's an Aesop fable, I think, but it may happen in real life. I'm not even sure. But anyways, so to me, the idea of the eagle, two forms of a woman's ego. Like a woman has a choice, right? She could be in her ego like the crow and just mean. And so the idea is the crow jumps on the eagle's back when it's in flight and starts pecking at it, and the eagle can't really get it off. But what the eagle does is it just ignores it, and it starts going higher. It rises and rises and rises up into the clouds, into the rarefied atmosphere, till the crow can't breathe anymore, and it falls off. And that's how the eagle gets rid of it, right? So it's like the woman who controls her ego, refuses to go into her ego, chooses not to fight that she doesn't lose, she rises. So maybe that's sort of what you're talking about, that a woman who can rise above all that, and you can't assail her. It's like fighting with water. She does not react. She's so fully self-acceptant and in her power, and women just naturally see that, and they just sort of fall away and cede to her leadership.
Yeah, as funny as it sounds, I think Dolly Parton is a good model for that. I've seen her on different talk shows and stuff where someone talks to her and challenges her, and she's everybody's champion. She doesn't take anything personally. She's not negative about anything. She loves everybody. She makes fun. She's humble and can laugh at herself. I remember her saying, it's like, when people call me a dumb blonde, I'm not offended because I know I'm not dumb and I know I'm not blonde. It takes a lot of money to look this cheap, she says. You know what I mean?
That's great.
And that's the kind of energy of a true female leader, is that she can poke fun at herself and when you can see and amplify the greatness in other women, that's a woman of leadership among women. But you got to start with leadership of self.
Right.
You got to be able to lead yourself. Yeah.
Yep. All right. This guy, I think that this is closest to the truth. What this guy, how this guy lays it out. So let's see what he has to say. He's going to do a little acting for us. Man, the technical difficulties that I have had today, I can't even tell you. It says it's playing, but it's not moving.
It'll probably catch up.
Well, I'm going to have to paraphrase unless it starts playing. What he does is he says, I can't do it as good as him, though. That's the problem. Oh, wait, there we go.
So the patriarchy is a myth, and I'm going to show you why. The patriarchy was designed by men to benefit men. They have higher median income, get sexually assaulted less, and don't get called sluts when they sleep with a bunch of girls. I mean, it's clearly not. Men are less educated, more homeless, make up nearly all military casualties, about 94% of the prison population. They make up a majority of the most dangerous occupations like roofing, construction, and mining. They unalive themselves more, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, because the patriarchy hurts men too. Now let's flip that. The matriarchy was designed by women to benefit women. They're more educated, less homeless, make up next to none of the military casualties. Only 6% of the prison population, dominate some of the safest occupations like education, HR, and medical assistance, and they unalive themselves less. I mean, it's clearly not. Women have a lower median income, get sexually assaulted more, and get called sluts when they sleep with a bunch of guys. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Well, yeah, because the matriarchy hurts women too. Do you see how easy that was? There is no patriarchy, there is no matriarchy. Just humans operating in a world where general tendency results from fundamental differences between the sexes. So the patriarchy.
Bravo.
It's a good one, right?
Yeah, it's a good one.
What do you think, Bruce? Common sense?
Yeah, definitely common sense. Well, I mean, everything he said was true. You can't really dispute it, can you? Even though he said it really fast, you can't dispute it. I mean, I don't think you can. So what is it? What does that say in the end?
Both benefit and hurt the other. It's just have humans operating within their strengths.
Yeah. And I mean, what we focus on is when those two camps, come together as individuals and form relationships. And they both bring their strengths to it. And
right.
And a lot of this other stuff we're talking about is a lot of it's noise, right? That's created on the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's stuff that's manufactured in a way, embellished.
Well, the thing is, we have to take responsibility for our own behavior and our own results. And I think a lot of this debate over the matriarchy, patriarchy, all of the things is people pointing fingers rather than looking at themselves. How can I show up? How am I responsible for my situation in life? How can I operate within the current? I mean, in America, what do we have to complain about, really? I mean, when you go over to these countries where they have to wear the burqas, they can't drive, they can't go to school. I was reading a thing in I don't remember which country it is, Afghanistan or one of those, where they've closed all women-focused schools above 6th grade, above grade school. There's no higher education for women. They have to wear burqas, all that. that's a completely different conversation. But what we have going on here is people just doing the best they have with what they have available, and everybody's just wanting to make a better life. I'm grateful that people take a stand. So, and sometimes shaking it up, even if you go to the extreme, it reveals things that need to be looked at.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. If you look at those countries that have women in burqas and they don't have rights, they're treated like property. They're stoned if they're out. I don't know all the things, but like if they're like out on their own without a man or something like that, then they can be
Without a
stoned, I guess.
related man. Yeah.
Yeah, and if they get raped by a man, then they have to have like a witness to say that it was real. Otherwise, it was their fault, and they get stoned. Like it's crazy, right? So you have these countries that have the worst treatment of women possible, but still somehow in America, you're able to convince a lot of women to support these countries. How is that possible?
I
Do
don't
you know
know.
what I'm talking about?
Well, a lot of times it's the media. The media.
Right.
I mean, one thing I found interesting around the media, how the way they color everything. You would think that America is a cesspool. The way it's described, the media, there's homelessness and there's people dying and there's no one can eat and prices are out of control and going on and on. And yet they have the World Cup and there's all this influx of people from all over the world come in there, and a lot of them have never been to America before. And they're just like, oh my God, what a great place. Oh my, we were in Boston there. We drank all the beer. We drank all the beer. And then people were inviting them into their homes to have some of their beer. And they said, what a great place, the food and the friendly people. And, they're just like amazed because the message they get in their home on their TV back in their country is completely opposite. So I think the media has a lot to do with influencing, these women who have it really, who have the oyster in the palm of their hand, influencing them to go and demonstrate for things that if they were living in those countries, they would be thrown off of rooftops, or they would be be put into slavery to some degree.
People drink the Kool-Aid.
And what you'll see is they'll have these protests that are like, pro-Palestine or whatever it is, that because Trump is attacking Iran, now they are for Iran or something like that, right? And so these YouTubers will go out and interview people at these protests, and they have no idea about anything going on in this country or the issue. They can't answer any questions. They're basically just there to toe the line. They're just part of the herd. They're just there to be there, and they have no idea why they're there. And I think this. So I'm going to get a little controversial again. This was the idea about not letting women vote because they are susceptible to this kind of manipulation, because they are empathetic, because they are sensitive to the oppressor and the oppressed relationship, and because they have to go along with the tribe for their safety. If they're kicked out of the tribe, they will die. So whatever the tribe believes, they have to also believe so that they can go along. Like, we're talking thousands of years of evolution again, like that kind of a thing. So you combine their empathy and their need to be in the tribe for their safety, you combine those things together, and you can just easily manipulate them by making them see an oppressor and oppressed. This is how you're going to be empathetic. This is how you're going to be caring. This is how you're going to be nurturing. And this is why you have to vote this way. And they end up, this is how you get gays for Palestine. Like gay people are being thrown off buildings in Palestine.
Another way to put it would be women are driven, their behaviors in some by fashion. And so if you make something fashionable, even if they don't like it, they'll do it because it's fashionable. And so I think that's the key. You make something fashionable, and then you can run with it. You can convince a segment of the population that Yeah, go ahead.
Until a woman
Protest
reaches
it.
full self-acceptance.
Right, and maybe that's a good point too. Maybe a lot of these women haven't reached that stage yet. Very difficult to reach that stage, especially if you're not aware that you need to do it. You know what I mean? Because that's that awareness. No one hands you a manual when you're 14 and say, okay, remember page 42, fully self-accept yourself, and here's the criteria you need to adhere to in order to achieve it. Yeah, and they don't get that at all.
And just to clarify, I am not advocating that we take away women's right to vote. I am advocating, however,
I think that boat sailed.
I think that we need to relook at voting in general, which it's never going to happen. But if there was some way to make sure people were qualified, like even men, I'm not saying that women are the only ones that can vote poorly, or I don't know how to put that, but even men can be very uneducated and vote for dumb reasons, like
single issues, that don't really matter in the scheme of things. Yeah,
like an 18-year, like my son at 18 years old, I don't know. I don't know if I would want him canceling my vote. You know what I mean? Like I've learned a little bit more. I know a little bit more about what's going on and what his motivations for voting, I don't know, will be. Should he be able to cancel my vote? So like I'm proposing like some kind of civil service or something, like where you have to earn it. Like you have to like put in like 4 years in a job that serves the government in some way where you learn about the government, and you get a decent living. You're not going to be rich, but like a mailman type of a job, and you do that for a certain amount of years, and that qualifies you, or you pass some kind of a test or something to reform the way that we're voting in this country, because I just don't think it's working.
Although it's interesting, though, that most of the people in the United States, the largest block of voters are the ones who don't vote. Right. Right.
Yeah.
And so,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Creating criteria to be qualified to vote would also make people want to vote, because when you take away scarcity, adds value. So if there are things that I have to do, I'm not allowed to vote unless I do A, B, and C. That creates a scarcity that makes me want to vote, makes me want to be included. We all have a need to be included, right? That's one of the human things that we do.
Yeah. If it becomes a privilege, it
would be nice if we had better candidates. It seems like the way it's gone lately in the United States is in the last few elections is we vote against a candidate instead of for a candidate.
Yeah, and in the end, does it really even make a difference? Because they all have to go along. There's a larger force at work. I mean, you get into all of that, but it just seems to me that nothing ever changes. Nothing ever changes. Like I watch those Senate clips, where they're grilling somebody, and they're just making them look stupid, and they're just and they're doing all these things, and then at the end of the day, nothing changes. I mean, this. I've been watching this stuff for 10, 15 years. Nothing changed. Right. Nothing.
All right, I'm gonna reel this conversation back in, because we're talking like strictly about voting, which is all politics. Which politics are a thing that is involved in relationships between men and women, right? But we can't just strictly talk about politics. This would be a totally different show. So
right,
I'm gonna bring it back by. So what brought this up was I was saying that how women can be taken advantage of in voting. So we have a little video here, if it works.
You got to listen closely to this guy. He talks fast.
Okay. The state has a reason to push feminism this hard. The character Winston in George Orwell's 1984 saw it clearly. It was always the women, and above all, the young ones, who were the most bigoted adherents of the party, the swallowers of slogans, the amateur spies and nosers out of unorthodoxy. The observation has outlived the novel, because it touches something deeply true. The care instinct is real, ancient, and good. The drive to protect vulnerable children and hold the tribe together built every family that ever held. It is also the one human instinct a state can easily weaponize, because control that arrives dressed as care meets no internal resistance. When conformity is marketed as compassion, obedience feels like virtue, and the woman enforcing the ideological orthodoxy experiences herself as a protector. But Nietzsche unmasked the darker drive lurking beneath politicized compassion. Envy, he noticed, often presents itself as morality. Weakness becomes goodness, and strength becomes danger. He called the preachers of justice tarantulas, acting from bitterness, presenting themselves as lifters of the weak while working to drag down the strong. The weak, we are told to care for, serve as ammunition, loaded by the ideologue and aimed at the strong. Once the state has radicalized women into a mass movement that can be turned on dissidents, weak men follow. Males adapt to whatever the mating market rewards, and once the moral consensus of women has been captured, low-status men adopt the sanctioned positions. They feign social justice beliefs to get close to women who would never otherwise notice them. Evolutionary biologists, following John Maynard Smith, call this the sneaky strategy. The subordinate male who mimics female behavior to gain the reproductive access dominant rivals would bar him from. The state is the only true winner here. Just Mirlou, who studied totalitarian psychology after surviving the Nazi occupation, warned that such systems cultivate dependency on purpose, because the dependent citizen transfers the loyalty owed to family onto the mass movement. A population of women who care more for society than for their own children, joined by compliant men who call their compliance courage, votes for protection every time. And every expansion of state power is marketed as protection. Fathers and households give way to bureaucracies funded by the very men they displace. The state converts no one. It recruits an instinct in women and rewards a strategy in men. And everything else follows from there. The state has a...
Okay.
He used a lot of big words there.
He did. What do you think?
Well, men complying to the, complying to the following the what he termed as the, I guess, the influential younger women, and the men who, because of the mating strategy, that's back when women say, men need to have feelings and they need to be, 50-50. And so men complied to that, even though they didn't feel they knew what the hell they were doing, but they just did the best they could because that's what women wanted. So that, they're addicted to sex. So that was what they did. I find that interesting. And so, but the whole premise that, so taking the influential young women followed by the compliant young men, and now you have a movement to point politically in whatever direction you want. Interesting. And you kind of do see that in some of these, you were talking about these demonstrations, King's Day and, Gays for Palestine and all just craziness. And you do see a demographic of younger people in there, that mixture of feminized men and young, just out of their teens women. That's a large component of what's out there, waving those signs for no apparent reason that I can see.
It's funny when you think about what you were saying at the beginning of this show today, Adam, talking about the patriarchy and the benevolent patriarchy because they have the power. But women have power in a different way. They have the simps. They have the men that have a different mating strategy. They're still men. They still have strength. And they're being, it's a weapon being wielded by the women, so I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I'm just noticing in this conversation that the sides are squaring up.
There are simp armies.
Yeah. And women think they want that.
The simp wars.
Until
Welcome
they
to
get
the
it.
simp wars. Yeah. Well, how about this? What is the solution? So if women are susceptible to this strategy and it's bad for society, what is a possible remedy?
Well, I think it comes down to the men not following the women into their folly, if you will, given this example. Because at the end of the day, if the men don't support the women, I don't think they have a movement. whatever it is they're trying to achieve. You know, looking at the bigger picture, I don't even understand what it is they're hoping to achieve. You know,
But
like
women want to be respected and honored for what they offer to the world. You know, I mean, women have a lot to offer, and in too many of the patriarchal societies, I'm not saying all of them for sure, but in too many of them, they're just not respected, and that doesn't work. It's especially in this, women are offering and providing more services to the community and to the I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but you know, to society than ever before. I think one of the things that comes up for me is for true leadership of men who have the best interests of the women and children and society in general, in partnership with women. You know, when men are off doing their own thing by themselves, they have a certain, that's what women bring. They bring the softness. So women are there creating influence, but you're right. The man is the stronger one. He's the head, and the woman is the neck. So, you know, he needs to take input from her in order to point in the right direction for the good of society.
Yeah. Are you Christian?
Yes.
Religious? Okay. Because that's a religious
I
thing.
wouldn't
Right?
call myself religious, but I'm Christian. Yeah.
That's a biblical concept, right? That he's the head and she's the neck.
And logical.
And
I didn't get it from there. I got it, you know, just in other structures.
Oh, it's
So
for,
yeah, it
it's
probably came from the Christian. Yeah.
it's for sure biblical. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the order that the Bible tells you is God, man, woman, child. That's the hierarchy. And so that was kind of what I was going to say is the solution. Because if you
is
look
what?
at,
What's the solution? What?
I got it. I'm going to tell you right now. It's the patriarchy. The patriarchy is the solution. No,
Isn't
but
that what we're in?
right. Well, that's all that there is patriarchy. There can be nothing else. But what I'm saying is the kind of patriarchy, right? In a gynocentric patriarchy, like the one that we have now, women are more susceptible. They're not protected. The way that the president of the United States is protected by the Secret Service. He's the one in charge. He's the most important person. He's the executive, but he has to still listen to the Secret Service because they protect him, right? So he still has to listen to them. Women are beautiful, powerful, amazing humans with as much value as a man. But in the household, with the man being at the top, he is the protector in more than just physical ways. He also would be protecting her from the barrage of brainwashing that is trying to come in and take advantage of the woman because she has all this empathy and all this care and all these great things about her that can be taken advantage of. So he's there to lead, and he's there to say, that's not right. Don't listen to that. Think, follow my lead, and we're going to move in this direction. We're going to move this way. So I think that for me, the solution for protecting women is the men. The men need to protect the women in all ways.
100%.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and the women need
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and men are just inherently stronger. Men are stronger. Even a woman who has great skills, a man is still stronger. Her skills may balance it out, but it's funny. I work out in the gym, and there was a time when I was bodybuilding and really intensely lifting a lot of heavy weight, and I could only bench press a certain amount of weight. And then this 18-year-old kid, he was probably still in high school, came in and bench pressed 3 times the weight that I'd been working on for my entire adult life. It's just like, it's just the way it is. The men are stronger.
That brings up another interesting topic that's happening in the world today. The WNBA. We have 2 former NBA players that have put in applications for the 2027 draft in the WNBA.
Because
Did
they
you know
identify
this?
as women. They identify as women. Yeah.
Brenda, have you heard
Oh,
of
they
this?
were men. They were born men. They're genetically
Well,
men.
They
they're
are
definitely
still men.
Oh.
They have
They're
beards.
large, huge men.
Yeah. They're not even trying.
I don't even understand that. What pleasure can a man with all the genetic abilities of a man, what pleasure can he get from beating women?
Well, first of all, they've retired from the NBA, and they have taken to me, it appears to be a political stance, pushing the envelope, saying, "Hey, you're all for transgenderism and everything. Okay, here now let's put it to the test. I'm a woman.
Are they testing it? Are they? Is it a political agenda?
Looks that way to me.
It is for sure. So what they're doing is they're pushing the envelope to prove a point. But it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting because they might get in. I mean, depending on how the WNBA reacts, they might have to let them in. Also, I think there's a lot of people that believe there are already transgendered women in the WNBA, and that this would also expose them.
I was watching a platform the other day where it said all it takes is a cheek swab. We don't have to inspect anybody's genitals. Nobody has to take their clothes off. None of that. It's a cheek swab. Is there an XX or an XY? That's all you need to know.
Yep, that's all they do. That's what the Olympics decided to do. Now if there's a question, they do a cheek swab, and
that's all it takes. Yeah,
it's down to the chromosome, and they made that determination. The WNBA has said, has held this transgender position. And it's the question, it's just amusing watching them scramble. They had this big meeting of all the head executives and owners and everything. And in that discussion, when they came out of it, they still couldn't come to a consensus on what to do with these 2 men threatening to enter the 2027 draft. They could not come to a consensus. You would think it would be just common sense. Hey, listen, let's put in the cheek swab deal. Everyone's got to identify as a woman in order to have the right chromosomes in order to play in this league. Let's just do that. But they don't want to do that because to them, they're still holding on to this political ideology. And it is political. Like it's not like, it's not humanitarian. It's political. And I don't know, it's a
why are they having transgenders going into the NBA? Females that transition to male. Why aren't they joining the NBA?
Because they'd be crushed.
I know. So it's just like, come on.
So Bruce, it's also about money too. It's not just about politics. They're getting attention. They're getting eyeballs.
Well, that's a good point too, because their league is not being supported with the product they're putting on the court. They're not, and so they get a lot of controversy because all these in battles between the women and the fighting on the court and the flagrant fouls and the off camera drama that is actually bringing people into the arena to watch the game, to watch the spectacle.
The dildos, did you see that? They were throwing dildos on the court.
Oh yeah. It's an absolute farce if you think about it. It's turning into WWW wrestling.
Right.
It's not even about the game anymore. It's like this inner craziness that's going.
Financially they're losing money, right?
Oh, they're just bleeding. They're hemorrhaging.
Do you know how they're supported? How they stay alive?
Yeah, because the NBA subsidizes them.
They're subsidized by the patriarchy for the win again.
It's crazy.
The benevolent patriarchy allows the WNBA to exist.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I think women forget how much power we really have, because when the benevolent patriarchy, women influence, good, powerful women influence good, powerful men and to 100%. Go into a direction that serves society.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for women, men would have destroyed the world eons ago.
We wouldn't be a species.
The men would destroy the world for a woman. if they
And
want
for
to.
their
Well, the end
ego.
of the day, if a woman stayed in her power and played to her strengths, she can have anything she wants. But for
Mhm.
some reason, women have decided that no, they want to be like men, they want to act like men, they want to do all these different things about men to the point where they're saying, yeah, let the men into our spaces and in our sports and into our locker rooms and into our, because we can compete with them. Well, in the end, it's not going to get them anywhere. I mean, come on, that's common sense. It's not going to work. None of that mixing all that genders and that's just not going to work. It'll never work ever. So it's a crazy time we've been going through. I almost think we're coming out of the end of it. I think it was a lot worse before. I'm hoping I could sort of feel the pendulum swinging back, the common sense approach, like stuff like this, like these men. I'll tell you a little story. My brother told me back in the pandemic, there was in BC here where I live, there was this welding course, because a lot of people were out of work, right? Because you couldn't go to your job. So there was this welding course, and these two men were going to go take this welding course. And they saw that if you identified as a woman, you'd get an $800 discount off the course. So they both identified as women and got the $800 discount. And they were clearly not. They had families. They were married. They had kids. But they said they were a woman, so they got an $800 discount. Like, to me, that's living in Crazyville, right?
Yeah, but I mean, take advantage of the system. I mean, everybody does, right?
Yeah, and then they switch back after the course. Right?
Yeah.
So I personally know somebody who at either 14 or 15 years old had a double mastectomy. How we get to the point where we're allowing children to make that kind of a decision and not, that comes with hormones and drugs that will make them not be fertile for the rest of their life. It comes with so many health ramifications. They will be medicalized for the rest of their life. They will be on medication and have to go see doctors and do all kinds of things for the rest of their life because of a trend. And young women fell into this trend like in unbelievable numbers around the world.
Right.
In the span of like 8 years. Again.
Yeah, teenage girls, and I'm not even going to speak about teenage boys, but teenage girls try on different personas as they're growing up. Is this who I am? 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 And you're right, it's trendy. It's very popular. What's trendy, what's popular, what's in fashion.
Yes.
But and I've got friends who are trans, and I love them dearly, and I absolutely 100% support full self-expression. But when it comes to competing in an arena, we've got to go with what's fair and logical. And children who are trying on the opposite gender persona. I know a young woman who did that when she was about 14, and her mom said, you do you, but nothing she wasn't allowed to bind her breasts or anything like that. You do you, but nothing that could permanently make a difference. And then a year later, she's one of the most feminine little girls I've ever met. So it's just something she tried on, and her mom took a very good approach. It's like, you be fully self-expressed, and you're not going to do anything to make this decision permanent until you're old enough to make that decision.
But it did happen with thousands of girls that were under 18. And so what I'm saying is the women allowed it because it was fashionable, and it was the men failed their daughters, completely failed to protect their daughters from that. And I'm getting back to that point again, that we're supposed to protect. That's what we do as men, as fathers, is we protect the household. We protect the women. That's our job.
Well, if we're all living in a patriarchy, then the patriarchy has an obligation to defend the world.
And we failed.
Right.
In those cases, in those instances, we failed as men.
In this conversation, what occurs for me is that the patriarchy, the masculine energy is the foundation, and the women decorate the house. Not in a disrespectful, I don't mean that to be disrespectful, but the men have the strong foundation. Men are very logical and linear, typically, stereotypically, and women are water and spaghetti and flowing and changing and trying things on and all of that. But you've got to have that strong patriarchal foundation, that logical, this is right and this is healthy for the women to go in and be creative and make changes and try things on, as long as there's a strong foundation that's going to prop up and allow correction when we make the wrong move.
The river and the rock.
The river and the rock. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
The
I
women
love
make
that
it,
metaphor. Yeah.
the women make it worth it. Like they make life worth it for men, because men can do it. We can go out and we can do all the things, but to come home to a loving wife who is making a home, you said like decorating the home, but that means so many more things, right?
Right.
Peace and calm and a refuge.
She makes life worth it, right? That's how important is that? That's huge.
Harmony, and comfort. Those are things, men go out in the world and slay the dragons and fight the battles and bring home the bacon and, fight the wars. And the women provide a place for them to come home and leave their mantle outside in a healthy dynamic. Because you don't want your man to come home and fight with you too.
Yeah, they provide the emotional flow in the home. The emotional flow
and the energetic comfort. It's funny. My husband is very capable of living alone, but he lives a much nicer life in the home that I create for him.
Yeah, you make it worth it.
Yeah. And I'm thrilled to have him coming home to me. We both win.
Yeah, I guess you creating that beautiful home and that emotional flow and that energy, and there's no one to come home to it. You'd be like,
right.
What?
Well, he comes home and he's inspired to take care of me. He's inspired to be a provider. He's inspired to bring the masculine energy that lets my feminine rest.
Yeah. Sure.
So, dating. If you're dating, none of us are dating on this panel. Thank God.
It was fun while it lasted, and I'm glad it's over.
But if you are, you do have you can decide I'm gonna look for someone who believes in more traditional type of roles or more egalitarian 50-50 or
right,
whatever, right? So you just got to be intentional about it. And I got a video about that. If it's gonna work.
I think the key is
What's
maybe
making dating so difficult is that.
No, go ahead. The key is what?
No, I just meant on playing the video. It's maybe to start it earlier so that it.
Oh.
Before you share it.
Right.
Yeah.
So she's talking about dating.
Yeah.
Here we go. Women are still perpetuating patriarchal ideas when they want a more modern relationship. So I don't care if you want a traditional relationship or if you want a modern day one. But the problem is when you come with such high expectations, wanting both. So a lot of women break the mold of traditional households or dynamics. Like, I'm the boss ass bitch. I have my own business. I make my own money. I have my own opinions. That is great. You have broken the mold. You better be giving potential partners the same grace. So you're probably not going to be as feminine as women were in the past. So you better be okay with the men you might be dating not being as masculine as they were, because the expectations that people have with men being financial providers and, you know, being able to lead in relationships and be gentlemen and have this chivalrous behavior, those are all ideas and concepts created and perpetuated by the patriarchy. Probably more positive ones, but what people are doing is that they're nitpicking what they like and don't like and treating it like it's a buffet. It's not a buffet, because if you make $300,000 a year, you don't need a man to make more money. You can desire a man to make more money, and that's okay. But
I just want to clarify what she's saying there. She's saying if you make $300,000 a year, you don't need a man that makes $300,000 a year or more. You can get a man that makes less than you. That was her point. I think she didn't say it very well, but that was her point.
You cannot hold men to a standard that you yourself do not meet. And so if you want them to be more traditional and you're not traditional, it is hypocritical. Men have become more passive and more feminized than they have in the past because the conditions aren't set up for them to succeed as easily as they used to. The common man cannot support an entire family off of an average income. It's just not possible. And so while women were developing more skill sets, developing more masculine traits, men were kind of getting a reality check where, oh shit, I am being invited to a level of masculinity that hasn't been required before because the bar has been risen. So a lot of men are struggling to step up and meet those expectations. But if you don't want a traditional life, if you don't want to be a trad wife, that is totally okay. The old paradigm hasn't completely eroded yet. A lot of people still want that, and that's fine. But if you don't want that, you need to be able to adjust your expectations to something new. Relationships aren't going to look like what you're used to. There's a lot of conditioning that women don't know they still have that are perpetuating these things that they claim they don't believe in and that they don't want. There's a lot of modern day feminists still being provided for by a man. Those actions aren't aligning with the belief system. And there's a lot of like hyper independent, business babes that want more traditional setup, but they have a hard time delegating decisions or letting go of control and being able to be more flexible. So when it comes to modern day dating, you better know yourself because it requires a lot of knowing yourself and identifying your strengths and weaknesses. Modern day relationships looks like, hey, I'm really good in this area, so I will make decisions in this area. You're really good in this area, so you make decisions in that area, and then we'll come together for the rest. You need to be able to know yourself, though. You need to be able to be independent, but also emotionally available to have those conversations. Because what people tend to do is like the moment a partner brings something up that requires them to change, they will like summon like irrelevant, illogical arguments out of thin air. Oh no, you're trying to suppress an independent woman. Oh wait, you better be providing for me. Like the next day, they're like, oh, you better be X, Y, Z. So they're manipulating and they're weaponizing. Like,
Okay, I don't know if we needed all that. The point is that I think she made it in the very beginning. If you want to have that kind of a relationship where you are like the breadwinner as a female, where you're taking on more masculine energy, then when you go to date, be ready to accept men that have more feminine energy because that's the polarity that works together, right?
Right.
It's making it's making a lot of assumptions.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, right off the hop, she goes, if a woman's making $300,000 a year, well, they don't need a man to make $300,000 a year in order to, survive. So it should be okay. She should be. And then they're saying that. So let's say he's only making 50,000. She's making 300,000. So when they come together, she has to alter her expectations of him, and he may be more feminized as a result of making $50,000 a year, and she'll be more masculine because she's making $300,000 a year, like as if the amount of money you make dictates who you are as a human. Like I just don't see that.
Okay, hold on. Let's explore that for a second. So we'll ask Brenda. So if you have to put yourself back into dating when you're a young woman, you're dating, maybe you're like young, like 30-year-old, 32-year-old, something like that. You're dating. You make $300,000 a year, right? Would you be okay? Let's just start with if you met a man and you were really attracted and you thought he was awesome, but unemployed, doesn't make any money, but you make 300. So
that would probably not work because of it's behaviors driven by a belief system, and a man with a belief system that allows him to not be working is probably not somebody that's going to satisfy my need as an ambitious woman who has created a
Yeah.
career
Okay,
where I'm bringing in
Hold- hold
$600,000, $300,000.
But
Okay,
that,
hold
that,
on.
that,
Bruce,
that,
wait,
what?
1 second. Let me,
All
let me
right.
finish. Let me finish real quick. So,
You're fighting
okay,
over me. I love it.
so if it was reversed, if the man made 300,000, he met this gorgeous woman and she was perfect and had everything he wanted, but unemployed, doesn't make any money, not a problem, right? I think we can all agree that would not be a problem for the man. Bring her
Well,
right in,
hopefully
right?
he's going to be looking for other qualities.
Well, she has all the qualities. She has all the qualities.
Yeah,
But so
you're
did
right.
he.
It is a double standard for sure.
Okay, so now we'll go back to your example. You make 300 and you met this man. So he's unemployed, doesn't make any money at all, and you said because that says other things about him, right? Basically.
Yeah.
Right.
So why would you be attracted to a man like that if he was you have something more? Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to finish the point. So
I thought you were finished.
I'm getting there.
Spoken like a man. Oh, you were done.
So he makes let's say he makes $10,000 a year. Same problem, right? Let's say he makes $20,000 a year. Same problem, right? So at what number? What 20,000 is below the poverty line? You know what I mean? You make 300.
Yeah, but what's he doing with himself? I mean, what's he doing?
Not
Is he following a passion project? Is he an artist who hasn't been found yet? Is he, I mean, there's so much more that's underlying that. Not working at all is one thing. Working in a low paying job is something else. It's like, and what is that job and how are you doing and what's important to you? Why are you in that job?
He
There's
works
so
at a
much
grocery
more
store.
to it.
He works at a grocery store.
Yeah, but
And that's all of his ambition.
Yeah, but you're shaping the narrative the way you want it, right? Like it's like
me?
No, Adam, in his scenario, it's like, so you have the woman with the 300,000, she meets a man. If that man's going to have to exhibit certain qualities as a man and be secure in his own masculinity in order for her to be attracted to him in the first place. If he's just an unambitious, lazy loiterer, no matter how good looking he is, she's not going to want to, she's not going to be attracted to him in the long term sense. He has to have something going for him, and it may be like we could create into that scenario the fact that he volunteers as a big brother, and he's got all these young men he works with, and he's just like he barely makes his living, however he does that, but he's totally dedicated. And as a woman, you come in with your 300 grand a year, you're looking at this man, you think, man, what a selfless man this is. And not only is he a selfless man, but he holds his male principles, and he's got his terms, and he is a rock in that riverbed. I mean, because money does not define men or women. I don't believe it defines them, right? It just depends on who they are and where they're headed. He may save up enough money, and then he heads off to Africa to work at a mission to dig water wells for villages for 3 months out of every year, and then he comes back and then earns money to go back again. You don't know. It just depends, right? But I don't believe a woman will be attracted to a man who's a lazy loiterer. Let's put it that way. A lazy loiterer is an unambitious man. Who would be attracted to a man like that?
A woman with low self-esteem.
So janitors don't deserve women?
Again, it comes down to
is he unambitious? Because he's a janitor. Is he not ambitious?
Janitors work hard. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess I'm not understanding what ambition.
Okay, so a woman makes 300 grand a year. She meets a janitor who makes whatever, right?
40.
And so, but that man, is he ambitious? Like, in other words, see what I've discovered is most men that have where money's not important to them, right? That they haven't pushed the financial envelope as far as they can. They have other things that fulfill them in life, right? There's other things that they do, higher purpose things that fulfill them and that make them who they are, that define them as a man. Their moral compass is complete. And point being that a $300,000 woman, because we're defining this money thing, if she does not see those qualities, she's not going to be attracted. Right? But it doesn't always have to be money, is my point.
A higher purpose.
Hold on a second. In my marriage, when I first met my wife, she was making more money than me. She was a CDA. She was this. She was that. I was a painter. So same scenario. And then it switched where I just evolved into making a lot more money than her, right? And so it goes up and
You
down.
had
And
ambition. You had
Yeah.
ambition.
Well, did I? Yeah. I mean, I evolved.
Right.
Yeah. So for a younger man, you can see his potential. You can see the potential in that man.
Well,
right?
we talked about this before, like meeting in college.
Yeah.
Where you both have maybe your student dad and your possible careers ahead of you, etc.
So she's looking for signals that say that he's going to evolve into that man, from the painter to logistics.
Well, maybe not. Maybe I mean, maybe he's never going to make more than $50,000 a year in his entire career, but he's out there making a difference in the world. He's working with the unfortunate, or he's a painter, he's a creative, he's creating some magic in the world, whatever. So it's not about you have to look at the whole person, both male and female. You have to look at the whole person. A woman that's not working is like, okay, she can stay at home and take care of the kids and the house and all that, but will she? You got to find that out. Or is she just somebody that's going to just sit on the couch and spend, look pretty when you come home from work?
Okay.
You gotta look at the whole person.
Just to bring it back to the original point of the video was know what you're asking for if you're dating, right? So if you're a woman that goes out and does the schooling, goes through the career path, and gets to the $300,000 a year mark, which is like 0.001% of people. Right? Like it's very, very prestigious place to get to. Very difficult to get there. So you make all the right choices. You do all the things to get to that position in your life. For you to then choose a janitor to date and marry would be very rare. It would be eye-opening. If you met somebody like that, you would be like, wow. How did that happen? Because that's not traditional. That's
not traditional, but it's not unheard of. What comes up for me is the woman has been very, very rigidly focused on one path, and she's arrived. Yay, I've arrived. $300,000. I've got this prestigious. I'm CEO of my company, and I've got this great stuff. But that might not be what she wants in her marriage. And I think the point that I heard in that video is determine what you want your marriage to look like. Do you want it to be egalitarian? Do you want it to be 50-50? Do you want it to be traditional with the patriarchy and with the strong masculine lead and that polarity? Do you want that? And decide what you want, and then be that in the dating world. You can't expect traditional roles if you want a 50-50 lifestyle in your marriage. You have to show up as what you are.
The other thing I heard in that video was she was making an assumption that a woman who's making large money and is competing in a man's world. Is kind of what she was inferring. When she comes back to her relationship, she's going to have these masculine traits, and she better be aware of them and allow the man to be more feminized. And then she talked about having your lanes of expertise, and then you take care of this, I take care of that. Well, in my opinion, women who follow in a man's world of competition, they have a real propensity to injure themselves and to become hard on the outside and wounded on the inside, because it fights against their traditional strengths of relationship and communication and all these, and the softness that a woman's true power is. And I also believe that women that are making those big strides in a man's world, they don't have to play the man's game anymore. They can take their own power and apply it into those positions and actually be way more successful than any man could be. Because working with men, they can cater to their ego a little bit, and they'll have a team of men that'll do anything for them. They can problem solve and communicate with their position of authority without being patriarchal, be matriarchal, and bring those strengths to the workplace. And then they could then being that way at home or at work, they could bring those back home because they're the same strengths. And then there wouldn't have to be, you could still have the traditional model. So that's what I believe. And that's what we show women in the Women's Weekend.
Yeah. No, I think that's possible. I'm going to try to approach it from another angle here.
Devil's advocate over here.
Okay, think about it this way.
Yeah, go ahead, dickhead.
I knew that.
I didn't say it. I wouldn't say it. It's a guy thing.
So now you've got this man, you've got this young man, and he believes in being the provider, the protector, the patriarchal. Say that right? Patriarchal man, whatever. You know, that's what he wants, right? So he has ambition. He's not making $300,000 a year, but he's, you know, I don't know, he's going to school, trade school, he's building a business, whatever he's doing. And he's dating. He's looking for the right woman that matches his polarity, right?
Sure.
So let's say maybe he's making $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year. Not enough to support a family, but he's got potential and he's moving up. He meets this $300,000 a year woman, and who she is to have gotten to that point. They meet on like a dating app and they go out on the first date and they get to know each other. What are the chances that they're going to be compatible? That what he is looking for, he's going to find in her, right? So my point is, what the point of the girl who was speaking about this was, if you're a career woman and you're focusing on money, you're focusing on your career, you're going out and you've made it, you've earned all this money, and now you're dating, to expect that a traditional man who wants to protect and provide and bring that kind of masculine energy into a relationship would be interested in a relationship with you would be slim. The chances would be slim, in my opinion. He is not looking for that.
So you're saying that, well, you're saying that because she makes more money, she is unattractive to him.
He can't be a provider to her.
Why can't? Well, yeah, but he could provide her everything except for money. And if she is in her career and doing it in the matriarchal way that I just described, bringing her feminine energy to her workplace, so to her, you know, coming home, she could still provide that softness, that emotional flow inside the home, and he can still be the rock in all other areas. And it's okay. The money's not there, but so what? Especially in today's age. I mean, she also mentioned in that video that men, you know, they're up against it these days. They cannot be the sole provider in most cases. Raise a family, buy a house, and be the breadwinner.
Trips, yeah.
Yeah,
they just can't do it. It's just not. It's been set up. We've been set up to fail in that regard. So they're already conceding ground, right? So if you're going to focus on who makes the most money, you're in trouble right off the bat, I think.
Well, you know, the masculine has a lot of different qualities, and you know, who's to say for a woman to have an achievement to make $300,000 a year, she's definitely got to have drive, focus, direction. You know, those are some masculine qualities, but it doesn't mean that she has to be aggressive or anything like that. She could have reached that using the ultra feminine energy. So just because she's very successful doesn't mean that she's, you know, a chick with a dick, right?
Yeah, the best damn man I ever met.
Right. Yeah.
It's
an energy, and a woman, you know, for what you were saying, Adam, I think I heard you saying a woman in that dating scenario that they met online and don't know much about each other do you think she's going to be worried whether he wants her? Maybe she, you know, a well-established, self-accepting woman is going to be more concerned with whether he's the right man for her rather than she's the right man for him, because that's the only way that you can date successfully is my job as a woman to make sure that you're the right man for me. Your job as a man is to make sure that I'm the right woman for you. And the best way for us to do that is for us to be honestly and authentically who we are, so that the other person knows what we're offering.
Right. There are always going to be exceptions to anything. I'm speaking in generals. I just think that a traditional man who wants to protect and provide and have a family and have kids and all that stuff, he is going to pass on that woman most times. I think that's not what he's looking for.
Yeah,
Just
but,
my
even, but
opinion.
even though we just said, like, a man can't even do that anymore. Like, or very few can support a family and have all the money.
Yeah.
Like, as far as finances go, in most marriages today, it's at least a 50-50 or very close, to who's bringing in what. So to focus on that as a metric for attraction, I just don't think it works anymore. It's not real anymore. It's like an old style way of thinking. A man has to be, it's like, I remember talking about it in the weekends, a man has less and less of a role in society in terms of protection, and women don't need men for much anymore. The truth is, they can freeze their eggs. It used to be, they needed them for, to have children. Not anymore. So what do they need men for, really? Right. So it's the masculine qualities of men. Men have to still be men. They have to be the rock. That's the only thing they can consistently offer women, is that rock in their life, so that women can flow around them and have direction and complete them, because they can't do it on their own. And men can't just be a rock in a dry riverbed either, because what's the point? So
There's no
the two have to
magic in
come,
that. Yeah.
Right.
the two have to come together, and they have to find a way to coexist, and making it about the money, I think, is a mistake in this day and age.
Well, money's just money. It's just an exchange of value, and I think it's becoming less and less a status symbol when anybody can make money.
But isn't it ideal? Isn't the ideal situation to have your children be raised at home by the mother? Isn't that an ideal situation versus daycare from the age of like 10 months old to whatever?
Ideally, yeah, but I mean, that's not the reality anymore.
Right.
My children were raised in daycare. I just got a really good one.
Yeah. And, I was.
Yeah, it's definitely not ideal.
Well, and government has something to do with that too. I have men that I know who had that traditional, stayed home, looked after the kids, for 14, 15, 16 years. And then now they're getting divorced. And so now they have to pay alimony to the woman because, she was out of the workplace for all that time. She has to be compensated. Mm-hmm. So they're paying 40% of their take home to her. Mm-hmm. And then I know other men who want their wives to work, and they're working, and making decent money, but they're also paying for daycare. So if they do the math, it doesn't even make sense for them to work, except for the fact it's like having a prenup, right? They don't want to be left holding the bag. So they'd rather be, she's working for $1,500 a month after she pays her daycare, but that's okay with him because he won't be caught paying alimony. Like, the whole thing is
wow.
Yeah, telling
that's quite.
There are so many dynamics. I mean, those are just two, but I mean, there's also fulfillment. As a woman, I've got a purpose in life, and it's not just my children. Yes, I'm going to make sure my children are well taken care of, and yes, in an ideal world where everybody agrees to have the children raised by the mom. But I mean, some of these daycare centers are spectacular. And depending on the amount of presence of the parents when they are all together, a mom can be a stay-at-home mom and ignore her kids, put them in front of the TV or the tablet. And what kind of upbringing is that? They don't know how to read. They don't know how to socialize. They don't know anything. So just because a woman isn't in the home 24/7 raising the children doesn't mean they're getting a bad raising.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
There's no guarantee of good parenting. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, we talk a lot about exceptions. I just think that most people would agree that the ideal situation would be two parents in the home. The parent, one of the parents, usually the woman, is there at home to raise the child. That has always, like, if you look at the statistics, that produces better humans as far as crime
But
rates.
that's not even possible in most communities nowadays.
I understand.
Yeah.
But,
So I'm just curious, what's your point, Adam? I'm not trying to be combative. I'm just curious where you're going with this.
yeah, that there is an ideal situation, right? That we would want for children, that we wouldn't want them to be in daycare if we could avoid it, right? That would be the ideal situation. To have a husband and a wife, she stays home, raises the children, he goes out and works. I'm not saying that's possible for a lot of people today, but that's still ideal. That's my first point. That if we could just agree that that's ideal.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So then we've moved away from that, right?
Right.
Right. We've moved away from the ideal. And I think that
by necessity. By necessity.
For some reason, I don't know if we had to, but we did.
But how does one person provide for a home and a family in today's society?
Right.
That's a very select few that can do that.
Right. Right. So what drove us to the point where we had to have two people working? Right. Where there's just no option.
Consumerism.
Yeah. Consumerism, economy, government trying to create another taxable income, so they force people apart. Government policies that said that single women could get subsidies from the government, so that they kick out their husbands. It goes on and on. Like there's all sorts. It's government, mostly government, because they supposedly shape the economy. So it's by design. Let's put it that way.
At the cost of our children. Yeah. At the cost of society.
100%.
That's my main point, is that we had something that worked and we moved away from it. We did an experiment. We moved away from it for whatever reason, and now we're seeing the results. And I think there are a lot of young people today that think that that's not working. Like I'm just out of it barely by my age. Like if you're 30 years old or younger, you pretty much think you got a raw deal. If you're older, if you're my age or older, you're like, what's the deal? Everything's fine because everything's cool for us. But the younger generation, they can't buy homes, they can't support a family on one income. There's just not the money there to go around in the economy. And
some do, though. Some do. And it's as you were talking, something that came up to me too is, one thing I've noticed there's a trend is that our young people want to continue to live the same lifestyle that they were living with their parents. I don't know about you, but when I went out on my own, my lifestyle was not fun. It was very, very small, very, very not abundant, because I had to live within my means and then produce. Right. I didn't have a lot of money. I had credit cards. I had a small house. I had a low paying job that developed because I was only, 18, 19 years old.
I think another good point that Kelly made in the comments there is that that women stay home, like for those formative years up until the kids get into grade school, and then they go back to work.
I see that a lot too.
Yeah, because you have to, because the money has to be there. But there's a recognition there that it's ideal for her to be home. So they try.
Well, 100%.
She tries as hard as she can to be there for as long as she can, because that's what's best for the child.
100%.
Yeah. It's interesting. Before I was reading an article getting ready for today, and it was talking about how the patriarchy, like that we think of the 1950s. That was like
Father knows best.
Yeah, it was like the Leave It to Beaver, like the pinnacle of the patriarchy, right? But history didn't start in 1950, right? History goes back a long time before that. And so what did it look like? Is that how it was? Were women always just at home taking care of the children and not doing anything productive outside of the home? And the answer is no. What women were doing is they were doing all the productive things outside of the home that were close to the home that they could do with the children. So they would be out like in the field, like farming, and they could have the child with them. They were doing things, they were still working and doing productive things, not just sitting at home taking care of the children, but they were doing things that made sense that they could do with the children, right?
It was a lot harder to create a home back then. Even though the man's out there hunting and defending and doing all the dirty work, she's at home. She has a huge responsibility to keep all the home fires burning, if you will.
Yeah, everybody had to chip in. There was nobody could just be sitting around like.
And it was survival. It was survival.
Right.
I mean, the reason they had kids in a lot of ways was to have farm workers.
18 kids. Yeah.
And so what changed to the 40s and 50s? What changed was the economic what era?
Well, the survival mechanism changed. Their lives weren't on the line.
With technology,
modernization,
and
right?
Exactly.
And
so the way that humans reacted to that modernization was, a man can go out and make enough money to support a family by himself. So naturally, we'll have the wife stay home and take care of the children, and we could have tons of children, and we can grow a big family, and she can still do all the important things. And even in that time, women still could work if they wanted to. Women were allowed to work. It wasn't like they were banned from it. But that was the natural reaction of families was, since we can do it this way, we're going to. And then starting in like the 70s, we decided to say, hey, let's change this. Let's do it differently and see what happens. And that was my point, is that it didn't work. It's failed our children.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, if we could go back to, if we could create an economy where one person could work and support a family, I think that would be better. Wouldn't we all like that?
Yeah. I do like what Kelly said, stay home with the kids while they're home. And then when they go to school, mom can go back to work if that's what she wants to do.
She said, my mom talks about her father going to the war when she was 4 and came home when she turned 10. Her mother worked while he was gone, then stopped when he came home. Yeah, that was the experience. I'm assuming we're talking about World War II.
Yeah,
that was the experience of a lot of women during the war, went to work and then stopped.
Well, like in my experience, I remember, we moved out here to BC when I was 6. So we had 5. There was 5 siblings, my mom and my dad. My father started a business, an engraving business in our home. He had machines down there, and he would create molds and different things. He had this business going, and my mom took care of the kids. Then he died, right? So then she was forced to go back into the workplace. And I remember, she was going to school at night and she was working all day. So she'd work all day and then she'd come home and she'd taken the CGA course, a very difficult course. So you had to be out in classes or doing this homework in her office till 2 a.m. and then she'd get up and go to work. So we would have a family meeting every September before the school year started. And we divvy up all the household chores. Like I cooked dinner for the whole family when I was 14 and 15. And someone else would be doing the laundry. Someone else have to clean the house. All the kids had jobs to do so that she could go out there and do her thing, right? And that was a necessity. I don't know if that has any bearing on what we're talking about, but
well, it's an anecdote. It's an interesting one, and there's, we can talk about like examples of women back in the time of the patriarchy in the 50s that were in high-powered positions and influential people, and it wasn't like all of the women were at home in the kitchen, right? There are always exceptions and extraneous circumstances like that, for sure. Yeah. I'm gonna change the topic real quick.
I was just wondering, what's the solution, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think if society, these conversations I think are really important, and they're happening everywhere. But for men to realize that they have to build their value in order to start a family, that's the motivating imperative for them, is to go out and become valuable so that you can support a family, so that you can create a situation that is the absolute best situation for children if you're going to bring children into this world.
Yeah. Well, in some cases, the man stays home. The woman that makes $300,000, she's a chief executive in her industry. The man stays home and is the parental figure. But as long as everybody is on the same page, that works.
I disagree. I don't think that works.
Well,
I think it happens. I mean, there's definitely examples of outlying things, but I think in general, it's better for a man to be productive and to be in the battle and be out there providing. That's just what men are for. It's what we're built for. We're not built to stay home and take care of children. I think that has a negative effect on a man. Where it wouldn't have
I think it's much more difficult for a man to be a rock if he's a stay-at-home mom. It takes a lot more fortitude, and you have to be grounded in your masculine presence in order to maintain that. Because it is somewhat eroding if you're not contributing financially. I do agree with that. And you're only nurturing. That's all you're doing, nurturing. I don't know if the man is very good at nurturing. Because with children, a man has a job and a responsibility and a duty, where a woman has a relationship with her children, a nurturing, comforting relationship. And how available would the children be to that if she's out working all the time, coming home exhausted? I don't know.
Lee just made a comment. The solution starts from within. I was, researching this kind of stuff and talking to my wife yesterday, and just talking about some of this stuff. Never a good idea. Never a good idea. Shouldn't ever do that. She doesn't care to talk about these things, and it just pisses her off. but I was saying, some of these things, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna look into that." I was talking about how women are more susceptible to being influenced because of their empathy and all the stuff we talked about before.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna look into that." I'm like, "Okay." So she sends me a video. She's like, "Check out. I Googled what you're talking about or whatever. I looked into it and look, I found this video. Check this out." And so I'm like, "Oh, okay. Maybe I could use this video. It's going to be something." And it's this guy, and he's just talking about how, anything that you want to see in the world, to make the world better, you have to just change it within yourself. There's nothing that you can do more powerful than being that example by changing yourself. That's where it all has to start. And this is a really good message, and I agree with it. But it just wasn't what I was talking about. So I was like, okay, great video, but not what I was looking for. But that made me think of that when Lee made that comment. It's like, it is very, very true. Like, if that is the solution, if I'm saying that that's the solution for a patriarchy, then that's what I need to be embodying in myself, and not worrying about telling other people what they should do. Just being the change that I want to see in the world.
Yes, that's all you can do in the end. Yeah. And even if you are reaching out, trying to influence other people or presenting your opinions, you better be living it. I'm not convinced that a lot of these men that are out there talking about all these different dynamics are actually living the life that they're preaching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, all these influencers out there, all these people on YouTube just saying whatever they want to say. Oh, that's us. So anyways,
it's interesting because everybody's got an opinion of the right way to do it without taking in the needs and the distinctions between other people. I think it's important for us to speak our truth and be open to being open to having new information come in that we can consider and apply if necessary, or if it fits. Because we're all in a growth edge. Once you stop growing, you start decaying. So we all have to stay in that growth edge. And and listen, hear what other people have to say. Just because this is the way we do it doesn't mean this is always the best way. There are, we to learn from our experiences, learn from each other, and apply what works. It's very important to stay on that growth edge.
Agreed. All right, I'm going to change the subject.
Nothing else, it just gives it. Sorry, if nothing else, it gives us information in order to be able to speak to our point, taking in the positions of others. We've seen all these people up on their soapbox making statements that don't fit. I worked many, many, many years in a law firm, and there are a lot of really powerful women who are very feminine.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, maybe they're the exception. I don't know, but that's the world that I moved in. So it's hard for me to hear that powerful women are
masculine.
It's the point that Bruce made earlier, that it's how you're doing it.
Right.
It's how you're being powerful. Are you doing it in a feminine way? Or are you doing it in a masculine way?
And it's totally possible to bring your feminine energy to the powerful. It's how you do it.
And I'd also say that if you don't do it as a woman, if you don't bring your feminine energy and your feminine power to your high-powered job, if you try to do it a man's way, it's going to hurt you.
Doesn't work.
It's going to hurt a woman.
Well, it might work. It might be effective.
It'll be effective, but at what cost?
Right. The cost is very large.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to change the subject. This will be the last topic. I don't know how much cigar you got left there, Bruce, but okay. This was brought up in one of the videos that I played. He said that if a man goes out and sleeps with a bunch of women, then he's like champion. If a woman does it, then she's like a slut, right? So there's this dynamic, double standard. Is it true? Here's the question. Would a woman view a man who is a 30-year-old virgin as something must be wrong with him? Would she be leery if she was on a date with a man and he's 30 and he's a virgin? Would that be a problem? Versus if she was on a date with a man and somehow it came up and he's had 15 partners, or he's just, that he's been around a lot. Somehow you find that out. Would that be an issue? Would that be like, oh, he's had too many partners?
What about the man that's got 50 under his belt?
Yeah, a lot. Well, you probably wouldn't ever know the real number, right? You would just get a sense of.
You ever done that, Adam? When you're trying to get to sleep at night, and you think of all the women you slept with. You think of the first one. You could do it in chronological order for a while, and then as you're thinking there, and then there was no. You could just, it's like counting sheep.
For me, there wouldn't be enough sheep to count for me to fall asleep. Unfortunately,
my experience is men know the number. Men know what the number is.
What's your body count there, Adam?
Oh, I don't think I'm going to share that. I don't think I'm going to do that.
But he knows what it is. But
it's not very high. Because I've talked about
mine's around 80.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow. See,
he's got game. He's got game.
So that's my whole point. Like you're saying it like as though it's like a source of pride, right? Because you're a man.
Well, it's just a fact.
Well, right.
I'm not
but
ashamed
a woman,
of it.
But sure. Yeah, but for a woman to say that, she might not be.
What's interesting, I think you think about it from a man's point of view. Good sex to a man is variety. For biological reasons. We're there to populate the species or the planet. Like it's a thing, or was a thing. With women, it's more like they're select. Like I think women with a high body count can get injured over time. Injured because it's a psychological thing. And when they allow a man to enter their body, it's a thing. Like there's an attraction to them. There's a bonding that takes place, and And if it's done again and again and again and again and again and again, would it not take a toll on them? Wouldn't something switch off inside them possibly, or it would hurt them in some way because of their because of their emotional attachment? I think I just think it's can be detrimental.
And it's biological. That's just the way we're wired. We bond that way. Yeah.
Right. And if you're bonding and breaking it, bonding and breaking it, bonding and breaking it, does something happen?
So I think that one of the things that is attractive for women about a man is that he is pre-selected, that he is wanted by other women. This is the fashionable thing. Like he's in fashion for women. He's popular with other women. He has a hot girlfriend, ex-girlfriend. That would make him more attractive. So having other partners actually can make him more attractive. Versus for a man, if we find out that the woman that we're dating has been around town with a bunch of other men, the value goes down, and we think, oh, okay, well, maybe it's not as good as I thought it was, right? So two very different situations, and I think it is based on biology, as we've talked about this before, is that men have not always known whether or not that they reproduce their DNA, and it's possible that they could end up taking care of some other man's child. Like the resources that they're producing and providing for, they end up giving it to another man's reproduction of his DNA. Until modern times where we actually have DNA testing, where men could actually know for sure, okay, that is my kid. Women always know because, they always know. Obviously.
Obvious reasons.
Yeah, but men don't. And so the only way men could know for sure was if she was a virgin, right? That's one way. And then he protects her, so he's always around, so he knows nobody else is sleeping with her. But also, if she's got a past of sleeping around with a lot of men, that could be an indication in the future that could be a danger. So that would be a danger that he would have to incur of taking care of another man's child again. So men get the ick when we hear about all these other men because just for that DNA reason, and women, they want one of the best men. They want a man who's like to go back to the Gen Z slang, the Giga Chad, the one that is deserving to reproduce DNA with because he's one of the leaders of men, and he'll be a better provider. He'll stick around and protect her while she's vulnerable. All these things. So if other women want him, then he could be a good choice for that reason. So I think it's all biological.
Well, I think part of it too is a woman wants a good lover, and if a man's leading in the bedroom, he needs to know what he's doing.
And that's not important to a man at all.
Yeah.
I don't think any man is like, well, she doesn't have very much experience, so.
Yeah.
Well, that's because he's entering her body. He's just, there's not a whole lot of requirements there.
Right. Agreed.
Interesting.
So your husband, Kyle.
Yeah.
We're friends, obviously.
Yes.
We know each other. I was talking to him about coming on the podcast.
That would be awesome.
I'm pretty sure he's listening to us, and he's texting me stuff right now. And I think this type of a subject is right up his alley.
His alley, yeah. He's a sexologist, yeah.
Sexologist, yeah. So we may have to have him on. I don't know if he
that would
wants
be awesome.
I don't know. We'll see.
I would defer my position to his expertise.
You wouldn't want to be on at the same time?
I could, yeah. We communicate well.
Yeah.
We have a very strong communication and respect level. Sometimes my ego comes into the room and it's not always welcome, but I'm human.
Oh, there he just showed up in the comments. If a man sleeps with 50 women, he's a legend. If a woman sleeps with 5 men, she's a slut. Why is this? A lock that can be opened by any key is a bad lock. A key that opens many locks is a good key. It's a master key.
That's a nice metaphor. Yeah,
yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, I don't think sleeping with 5 men makes her a slut, though. I think that
Well,
she needs a higher body count than that.
yeah,
To the man, right?
yeah.
Mm.
A man wants to win his prize.
Hmm.
And if you know, if there's no prize to be won, is he going to value the treasure? It's just psychological, it's biological, it's just kind of the way we're wired. It's not necessarily it's not a testament to anybody's value as a human being, but it is part of the dating game. You know, it's just like men, first thing a man thinks about when he meets a woman is sex. It just is. It's just the way you're wired, and there's nothing right or wrong about it. It is what it is. So resisting what is a fool's game. So when women are out dating, they need to know, yes, he's thinking about sex when he looks at you, and that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to pursue it
or act on it, or any of that.
Right.
Yeah.
He was thinking about sex before he looked at you, before you
Right.
even got there.
Right. What do they say? Men think about sex every 5 seconds or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Or they say that men have more sexual thoughts in an hour than women have in 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I believe it either, but it's been said.
Yeah. That's
Well,
true. I mean, yeah.
I'm gonna have you both log your sexual thoughts for the next 2 weeks. Come back and report to us.
I think they got an app for that. It's just wired to your head every time you have a sexual thought. Ding, ding.
Yeah, that would be funny.
Well, I think we've done it. I think the cigar is probably just about over.
Done.
Yeah, pretty close.
Before we go, we have a women's weekend coming up. What are these weekends that we talk about? There's this banner on the bottom, Mr. Henry.
By the way, the banner has a typo in the website.
Oh my God!
It's not ignite your weekend; it's ignite your weekends.
Oh, ignite.
Ignite.
What would we do without you?
Let's not find out.
Yeah, but to me, the Women's Weekend is an awareness. It's an awareness seminar.
Yeah.
Right? It's bringing a way of being to women that some may not be aware of. It's bringing to them what motivates men's behaviors, what motivates women's behaviors. It's like the complete package of a relationship between a man and a woman. And it's also a place where women can locate, and sometimes, mostly it's relocate, discover again the source of their power.
Right.
Which launches them into the best version of themselves. And then, of course, and we put on 2 women's weekends in this organization, and every time the women walk out like, oh my God, like they just got it. The interesting thing to me is retaining that way of being. They're aware of it, they understand it, they know it's powerful, they know it's their best version that they could be. But it's very difficult to overcome the way they have been living, and not all women can do it. And we have the follow-up classes and all sorts of curriculum that they can stay with the work.
Right.
But it's difficult, and in the end, it's a personal choice. Whether you want to do it or not.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'd use the word difficult. Challenging for sure. I'm a wordsmith. That's what I do in my world. So I pick up words, but I did my Women's Weekend almost 20 years ago, and it changed my life. I credit the Women's Weekend for being married to this amazing man in the other room, because I learned how to date. I learned how to select. And I think the most important thing I got out of my Women's Weekend is me. I got an opportunity to accept myself for all that I am, all that I'm not, all that I never will be, and should have a community of women who reflect my greatness back to me and that allow me to do that for them. There's so much available in the Women's Weekend that we used to learn from our mothers and our grandmothers, and we don't anymore. Everybody's for whatever reason, there's a disconnect. And so we have to learn somewhere, and learning in the Women's Weekend creates the environment and the context where we can become the best women that we can be based on what we want. Nobody, when you go to the Women's Weekend, you don't get told how to be or what to do. You get information so that you can choose appropriately for you. And like you were saying, Bruce, knowing doesn't change anything. It's an opportunity, but you've still got the internal dialogue. You've still got the internal barriers. You've still got the internal neurology that says this is the way we do it. It takes practice. Like, you can't go have an amazing workout at the gym and walk out Arnold Schwarzenegger. You can't eat one good meal and end up healthy and fit. You've got to practice. You've got to do the thing over and over until it becomes who you are. It's all about identity. You have to do the thing that helps you become more of your best self. And in the doing, your identity begins to shift. And then that's just the way you are in the world. And you learn that at the Women's Weekend. I learned that at my Women's Weekend.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Because what you get on social media isn't the truth. It's somebody's narrative. And it's just for clicks. It's not even because a lot of the people that put that stuff on, they don't believe it either. It's just for clicks and popularity.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of it's truth mixed with untruth, so it's very
just
difficult.
enough truth to make it palatable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I played that video earlier of the man who said, like, there is no patriarchy, there is no matriarchy, there's just humans and just dynamics between us. And I think that's very close to the men's and women's weekends that Ignite puts on, is
right.
Just more common sense of the way people are.
We take a large context and we pick the pieces that we like. It's like I love that they said it's not a buffet. You don't get to pick the bits and pieces that you agree with and that you like and that you want for yourself. You've got to take it all. It's a 7-course meal. It's not a buffet.
Hey, look, we fixed the banner already.
I saw that. He did that right away. Good job, Lee. Thank you.
Oh, I did that. But
yes, you did that.
Good
job, Adam. Thank you.
I need my credit.
Give credit where credit is due. Yeah.
All right, you two.
All right.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on, and we'll see you on.
Yeah, let's bring Kyle on. That would be fun. That would be a very fun, enlightening, entertaining conversation.
Yeah, I'll talk to him. See if he's willing. Yeah. All right, y'all. See you later.
All right. Bye, gentlemen. Thank you.
Pocket, breath like a match, velvet